Money's important. Money is not going to make you happy.
No.
But an absence of money could buy you an awful lot of misery. So I look at money as this. It's a problem that needs to be solved.
Yep.
And here's another distinction, which I think everyone should really key into, because this misconception that, in some way money might be evil. Here's the deal. There's no amount of poverty that you can have in your life that can make one other person wealthy.
Agreed.
There's no amount of misery that you can have in your life that can make one other person happy. There's no amount of sickness in your life that can make one other person healthy. So if you want to make the world a happier, healthier, wealthier place, then get as much of those gifts you can for yourself and then spread it around.
Yeah.
All right, so we just went over the lesson on the root of all evil, and we talked about how money itself isn't evil. It's the love of money that ends up pulling people off their path. And as synchronicity would have it, right after this, I ended up watching the movie The Wolf of Wall Street, which is based upon the book of the same name about the rise and fall of Jordan Belfort, who succumbed to greed. It's exactly the reason he fell and lost everything. And so I ended up looking the guy up on YouTube in various interviews and whatnot to see what he had to say personally about his experience. And here's what he had to say about greed and being pulled off your path.
Talk about my life, my mistakes, and I'll tell you what my mistakes were. It's important to talk about that too, what the mistakes were. Really quick, the number one mistake that I made is I had the most destructive belief inserted in me, and beliefs are inserted in us from the time we're this big. Yeah. When I first made my money, the first thing I did, I made $650,000 in one stock trade. You know what I did? I didn't buy a house. I bought a white Ferrari Testarossa. Why? Because Don Johnson drove one of Miami Vice. Thought I had to have it. He was cool. Second thing I did, I took a plane out to the West Coast and checked into the presidential suite of the Regent Beverly Wilshire. Why? Because Richard Gere done it in Pretty Woman. But the most destructive belief that I followed was Gordon Gekko, who said greed was good. And it's bullshit. Greed is not good. It's ambition that's good. And it's passion that's good. When you have greed in your life, the first thing that goes out the window is ethics. It's like this. Yeah. You don't lose your soul on Wall Street or any other street all at once. It's a bit at a time. It's tiny, imperceptible steps. You do something, you're doing everything right, you step over the line, you step back. You're like, oh, I got it, nothing bad happened. But next time you step over the lines move, so you step a little bit further, further still. And all of a sudden, a couple years pass, you're doing things you never thought you'd do, you're associating with people you never thought you'd associate with, and everything seems just all right. It's like dipping your toe into a piping hot bathtub. Oh my God, it's so hot, right? 5 minutes later, you're underwater and the water feels perfect. Yeah. That's how we're built. We habituate on our emotions.
And he had other things to say that really corresponded to what we're talking about. For those of you who purchased the Words of Power program, I want you to listen to this next clip, keeping in mind what we said about the will.
Here's the way it is. You see things better than they are, make them that way. It requires 4 things, and I'll tell you what they are. I'm not going to hold it back. Number 1 is vision. Yep. The ability to create a clear and compelling vision for the future. Mm-hmm. And the way you do that is you actually, when you set a goal, you have to step into that goal and start to visualize it. You got to taste it, touch it, feel it, literally, really internalize it. Say, how would this world be? It's not just about when I get to there, then I'll be rich, or I get to there, I'll own a business. What's my world going to be like? How is it going to impact the people that I love? My parents, my children. How much time I'll see. People have a misconception. If I make money, I'll have less time for my family. Bullshit. When you make money, you have more time for your family. You secure the future of your family, future of your grandchildren. When I became wealthy, really wealthy, in the brokerage firm, which I'll get to later, I lost everything, which I did and I deserved to, because I made some fundamental mistakes, which I'll go through too. My parents, who are now 77 and 78 years old, still alive, they became wealthy because of me. And they're still wealthy, and they struggled their entire lives. So when you become wealthy, it's not so much what you can do for yourself, what you can do for other people. That's where the fulfillment and the joy comes into it. So number 1 is the vision, right? And if you look back at it, if you want any confirmation, look at a Gandhi. Right? He survived hunger strikes and united a country, not because he had a goal for a free India. He had a vision of a free India.
By now, my listeners and subscribers already know that I talk about how everything begins in the mind and how everything is dependent upon your perspective and state of mind that you're in. Here's a clip of him talking about just that.
Second part is the ability to manage your state, the way you feel in the moment, your emotional, your physiological state. And that is the key, bar none, the most important distinction in life. Because what that does, it allows you to access the resources that you have. If you're in an angry, pissed off, negative, unresourceful state, you can't do anything well. You've had one of those days, for instance, where everything you're doing, you're like, I can't believe I said that, I can't believe I did that, I'm such a fool, right? You had that day? We've all had that day.
Yeah.
Next day, similar situation, you're like, wow, that was me. I did a really great job, right? You were perfect. So one day you're brilliant. Next day, same situation, you're brutal. That's not talent. That's not ability. That's the state that you're in. So the key to success is not just to have your vision, but to be able to manage the way you feel in the moment. Now, if you're a parent, what's the most resourceful state? Patience. If you're a businessman looking to make money on Wall Street, it's probably certainty or courage, because fear is the worst emotion of all for being a trader on Wall Street. So every business has different states that you need to master. Now, in most businesses, in matters of wealth, there's three states that you need to master to be able to trigger at a moment's notice. And it's easy to do once you learn how, which is what I teach people, okay? And number one is certainty, to be certain about what you're doing. The second one is clarity. To be clear, not to be overwhelmed, which the opposite would be overwhelmed. And the third is courage, is to have a conviction, to know that you might not be right all the time, but you're not going to let fear stop you. Because if there's one distinction that between the wealthy people of the world and the poor people of the world, is that wealthy people act in the face of fear, while poor people run away from fear.
Agreed.
Now, there were so many things in that clip. There was controlling your state, which is why we do our grounding exercises. That helps you control your state. Grounding and meditation. He talked about certainty, which is faith, as we said in a previous lesson. And then he touched on taking action. You must take action. All of these things we have covered previously. Now in this next part, for those again who have purchased Words of Power, remember what we said about the self-imposed jinx as he talks about limiting beliefs.
The third thing is your beliefs. And you mentioned the word beliefs before, and people throw that word around a lot. And it's a buzzword for self-development, but here's the bottom line with beliefs. They act like governors on a car. You brought up a Ferrari, let's use a Ferrari. A limiting belief is like putting a governor on the engine of a Ferrari. The Ferrari can go 240 miles an hour. It has 550 horsepower, 4 valves per cylinder, 12 cylinders. But if there's that governor letting the gas go through, you ain't going over 55.
Yep.
That's what a limiting belief does. It stops you from charging forward when you should and causes you to move back when you shouldn't. And we all have them.
Agreed.
And they started getting inserted in our heads when we're yay big. We were all unstoppable on day one. And then came day two, when our parents started spoon-feeding us limiting beliefs. Sometimes, they meant well, they just didn't know, because, one of the things that I'm a big believer in is that we were not even given our owner's manual. Our brain's an immensely powerful computer, and this is, known by pretty much everybody in the self-development world. Some of the top people, Dr. Richard Bandler, who I trained with, one of my mentors, and a brilliant guy. And the first thing he said to me is, you never got your owner's manual, Jordan, and because of that, you don't realize that the world around you that you take it as reality. It's really not. It's subjective. The reality I'm looking at is just subjective. I can interpret things how I want. I can have the beliefs that empower me, and I can shed the beliefs that disempower me. So the first thing I do when I meet somebody, when I coach really wealthy people, some stars in Hollywood, the first thing I do is go through what their limiting beliefs are.
Yep.
And you got to root them out. And it's not difficult. You can't just root them out. You got to replace them with empowering beliefs, which is typically the opposite belief. Right? Now, what I was doing at my brokerage firm, interestingly enough, getting back to that, is each day at my firm, if you read the book, I gave 2 meetings, the morning meeting and the afternoon meeting.
Yep.
And in the meetings, I was actually running this strategy. I had them visualizing their success. I would talk about the life. Yep. Now, the average kid that came to work for me was about as smart as a box of rocks. They were. They're like, none of the kids went to college, okay? They were not the Lucky Sperm Club members. It wasn't the deep end of the gene pool or anything like that at all.
Yeah.
These were the forgotten. These are my people, right?
Yeah.
They came to me, they thought they'd be working in pizzerias. And the first thing I said to them was this: The moment you walk through the store, everything in the past falls off.
Yep.
You sit behind this desk, you say the words, I teach you, you become as powerful as the most powerful CEO in America. What am I doing? I'm breaking a limiting belief.
Agreed.
You get that? And I didn't know.
And you didn't know that you were doing that at the time.
I didn't know. I was just saying, it's like I got riled up myself and I saw these kids and I wanted to help them.
Yeah.
And I knew what they needed to hear because they grew up in households where they weren't told they were worthy of greatness. They weren't told they had the ability to be successful. Every human being, I can tell you something. I give seminars. I give 2-day seminars, right? And you can't believe the dramatic changes in people in just 2 days. And it's not that I'm the guru. It's like I'm just a guy with a unique set of skills that I've honed over 27 years of doing this, and I know there's these basic trigger mechanisms in people, and when you give them, it empowers them, and then they go off and they run, and they go for it, and they realize all of a sudden they're capable of things they never thought they were capable of, and it's to see that, that's what gets me going in my life, and it happened back then with the kids at Stratton. What it was for me, just so you know, and everybody's different, okay? When I came out of jail, I had so many limiting beliefs about what I could do with my life. You know, after making the mistakes that I made. And here's the thing about your past. And once you can, if there's one thing that your viewers, if there's one thing that you can actually get from all this, one distinction, it's that no matter what happened to you in your past, you are not your past. You are the resources and capabilities you glean from it. You are not your past. You are the resources and capabilities you glean from it. And that is the basis for all change. Because the worse your life is, if you've survived the worst of the worst, if you've made the biggest mistakes and are still breathing, then you can learn from that, and that builds muscle. How do you build, when you go to the gym to build muscles in your arms, what do? You don't push against lightweight, you got to push against extraordinary weight to get to failure. And that's why you learn more from failure, you go stronger from failure than from success. Ask any successful person, and they will tell you they failed 5 or 10 times. The more crap in your life that you've survived, if you're willing to just reverse the angle, to look at things from a slightly different angle, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And you will find so much power, so much passion, and so much internal fortitude from your past if you have a destination, meaning a vision, something you truly believe in, that you desire, not a goal. You know, goals are like buzzwords for failure. Every asshole has a goal, and they're mostly full of crap. Now, you need goals, but it's not enough, because goals get abandoned, but the vision remains. If you have a vision, and you want to look at your beliefs as resources, and you need that as strategy, and here's the key, a strategy for success.
So yeah, I wanted to get this out there. As I said before, I'll do a lesson, and then a lot of times synchronicities will happen soon after giving that lesson that correspond with the lesson I just gave, which of course I find rather interesting. In any case, I have my mother coming up from Florida to visit, and I'm busy preparing for that, and so I probably will not be on the rest of the week, but I will be back early next week with an all-new lesson. And for those of you thinking about getting the Words of Power program or have yet to grab it, there's only a handful of 20% off discounts left available. So now would be the time to do it if you want to save a little bit of money on it, because it will not be going back down after those run out. I'm also planning on doing a follow-up video, a bonus video for those who have purchased Words of Power. And those links will be sent out automatically upon its completion, hopefully within the next 2 to 3 weeks, maybe a month tops. It'll have things that I wanted to put into the original program, but for some reason or another just couldn't or didn't get to it. Again, I appreciate everyone's support, and I will see you next time. Take care.